Hey guys, it's Danny, and today I'm very excited to be sharing with you a recent chat that I had with Amie Valpone. She is the author of Eating Clean, the 21-day plan to detox, fight inflammation, and reset your body. And she has an amazing story. And the reason I want to share her story with you guys is because, as you know, I am a very big believer that the number one thing we can all do to really take charge of and reach our personal health, fitness, weight loss, wellness goals, really develop a more intimate relationship with ourselves and our body, to understand our thoughts and our beliefs and how that affects our results, and to understand how to read the signals of our body and to be in tune with what our body is trying to communicate to us, and to see that symptoms are really just messages. That's your body's way of trying to communicate with you. And I think that Amie's story, while her story is definitely very extreme, what you're going to see is that she, at a very young age, she was living a healthy lifestyle. She was in her early 20s, and she began to have a host of symptoms. She sought out, which we talk about in our chat. She sought after traditional, really pinpoint what was going on for her. She was slowly getting worse and worse, and then she got to the point where she began to take her health into her own hands. She became her own advocate and her own detective. She started doing her own research, began to take a more integrative, holistic approach to her healing and her wellness, and was able to heal her body, by and large, by detoxing her diet and her environment, which is what her book is about. But I really wanted to share the story with you guys because I think it's a powerful one to hear, right? Even if you are not in the same boat as Amie, because like I said, her story is very extreme. Just the little tidbit that you can pull from what she shares, I think it's really insightful and it's really powerful. Okay, so with no further ado, I bring to you my chat with Miss Amie Valpone. Hey guys, it's Danny, and I am here with Amie Valpone. She is the author of Eating Clean. It's a 21-day plan to detox, fight inflammation, and reset your body. And you guys may remember her name because I did share one of her recipes about a month back when the book first came out. It was her red bell pepper soup that many of you loved. So I really wanted to have her on to chat with us today. She's also the founder of thehealthyapple.com, which is a popular detox and recipe blog. She's a recipe developer, a personal chef, and she contributes to lots of major publications like Clean Eating Magazine, Vegetarian Times, and the Food Network. So, Amie, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to share a bit of your story with everybody.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So really what I want to chat about today is this whole journey that you have had with your health. I'll give a little background snippet and then I'll let you dive into the details, right? So basically, Amie, about when she was in her young 20s, and Amie, jump in and tell me anytime I'm off track here. When she was in her early 20s, she started to have lots of symptoms, including what did you were holding a bunch of water in your legs?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
don't I let you explain your symptoms?
It was crazy. So yeah, I was about 22 and I was here in Manhattan working in corporate America, and my legs started swelling up with about 40 pounds of fluid every day. And I was about 90 pounds at the time, couldn't gain weight. And so they put me on steroids, painkillers, water pills, sent me to Mayo Clinic to give me a bone marrow biopsy, did another bone marrow biopsy on me here in New York. No one could figure out what was wrong, and my white blood cells were chronically low. So it freaked them all out. They thought I had leukemia. So after 2 bone marrow biopsies and probably about 4 years of running around to over 500 doctors, including Mayo Clinic and numerous hospitals in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, I ended up with C. diff colitis, which is deadly. So I was given 24 hours to live. And I was on disability from my corporate job. And it was crazy. I was on morphine, and I'll just never forget that moment. And from that moment on, I decided not to go back to my corporate job. And I said that if I survive, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to helping people figure out what's wrong and realize that they're not crazy. And I'm going to figure out what's wrong with me. And I'm going to heal my body the right way and get off all these drugs. And so that's when I discovered something called functional and integrative medicine, which I talk about more in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And my story is very, very long. I mean, you can imagine. But as you know, the whole story is in the book. So I don't want to, tell the entire thing now because it's incredibly long. But Yeah, I go through a lot of the process with the book or
Yes.
sorry, with my story in the book.
And I just want to say, and basically what Amie did is that so initially she spent about 3 years seeking after traditional medical therapies and doctors, etc., and was only slowly seeming to be worse and worse. Nothing was necessarily getting better. And I think this is the part that's really inspiring, and I want people to get is that you really started to take your health into your own hands. She started doing her own research. She discovered integral and functional doctors, which what's the difference? What would you say is the difference between a traditional doctor and a functional doctor?
Definitely. So an functional or integrative or functional medicine doctor, for example, say your husband went to the doctor and he was like, okay, Joe, you have high cholesterol. He would hand him Lipitor, a drug, pharmaceutical drug, and would not ask any questions about his health, wouldn't ask about his sleep or his stress or what he's eating. And 7 minutes with him, he'd be out the door. Now, a functional and integrative medicine doctor, on the other hand, says, okay, Joe, what are you eating? What are you doing? What's your stress like? What's going on in your house? How much seafood are you eating? What are you exposed to on a daily basis and the chemicals that you're exposed to? What kind of cleaning products are you using? Are you eating organic? How's, the love in your life? Like different things that are all affecting our bodies. And so they get to the root cause of what's going on. Like, why do you have high cholesterol? And you should not have high cholesterol. So let's figure out how we can fix that so that you don't need a drug. And what is that underlying imbalance in your body that's causing your body to react and give you high cholesterol?
Right. So it's kind of like they zoom out and they look at the whole picture. It almost sounds to me like what you're saying is that they almost look at those symptoms as more of a messenger than the problem in and of itself.
Exactly, yes.
And guys, this is like we talk on my channel and stuff, we talk a lot about this in relating to weight and body, right? That extra weight or when we gain weight or when we binge eat or overeat, how those are all symptoms that actually have a powerful message in them. And it's the same to what you're describing. Like all of these symptoms where your body's trying to get your attention. And rather than just kind of drugging you up and going like, here you go, baby, just here's a lollipop, quiet now. It's really getting in and taking that bigger, deeper dive, which is
completely. That's exactly what it is. And I didn't even know anything like this existed. And so that's how we met. We both went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
Yes.
So I'll never forget when I reached out to you so randomly. This was probably 7 years ago.
Amazing.
I was in the middle of my journey and I was walking to a dentist appointment. And I reached out to you and I said, let's chat. I was like on lunch break from my corporate job and trying to figure out what was going on with my body. And I can still picture myself in the hallway of the dentist office talking to you and not wanting to hang up and being like, I have to go in.
Oh, that's so funny. I remember that too.
Yes.
I was in California at the time. I was at the mall.
Oh my God.
I do remember that. It was such a good conversation.
That's
so you went to these functional doctors, integrative doctors, and basically they were looking at you and they were looking at your food. And I just want to say too, because I think this is important, and you mentioned this in your book, that Amie was living a super healthy life prior to. It's not like you were like a fast food junkie, eating a lot of processed foods and sweets and sugars. You were already a very health conscious person.
I was, and that's what threw everybody off and threw all the doctors off. That's why no one could really figure out what was going on with me.
I can only imagine how frustrating that was. I mean, at any point you must feel like you're crazy.
Yeah, I completely felt like I was crazy, like many, many times. And it's been a journey, I have to be honest. I mean, right now I'm doing more the energy work, the acupuncture, the Reiki, things like that. And it's still a journey. I mean, I'm fully healed, but there's still things that you have to do to keep your body, I eat 100% organic. I make all my meals. I rarely eat out. I don't drink. But I love my life and it's amazing. And if I did have a drink or if I did eat something that I wasn't supposed to, I mean, I'd be not feeling well for a good week and a half or so. I mean, especially if it's like gluten or something like that. I mean, I'd be sick for about 5 weeks. So I realize that my body is so hypersensitive that, so many clients that I work with say, how do you do it? How do you not eat out? How do you live a life? I mean, I'm a 33-year-old single woman in Manhattan. I mean, you make it work. And you have if I can do it living in New York City, anybody can do it. It's really just about your frame of mind. And so many people say, what do you say to your friends? Or what do you say when you have dinner parties? Or, I mean, you bring your own food, or you eat before you go, or you figure it out and your real friends will understand. And
Right.
you figure out a way to make it work, not just going and eating those foods and getting sick and then being sick for like 4 weeks, whatever it may be, and just doing that to make other people happy. Like
Yes.
that's not gonna, you're not gonna heal.
I don't remember where I read it, but there was something I read when it was like, look, no matter who you are, there's going to be people who are like you and people that don't like you. Like you're going to
Yeah,
have your people, and then you're going to have the people that aren't your people. So you could either
totally.
fake the funk to get people to like you, you're not even really going to like that much because they're not really your people, and still people won't like you. Or you could just do you, and you'll have people that like the real you, and there will still be people that don't like you.
Yes, completely. There's always going to be people that are, you know, saying things or just thinking things. And in the beginning, I was worried about that. I was always like, people are going to think I have an eating disorder, or they're going to think that I'm crazy, or that I'm like OCD. And I'm like, who cares what they think? They're not the one that's sick for 4 weeks after they have a piece of bread. Like
Yeah.
their immune systems react totally differently. And now, as I'm in my 30s, I'm seeing even some of my guy friends are like, Amie, I can't eat dairy anymore. And I'm like, oh my God, like wake up. This is where I've been in the last 10 years. And I think now a lot more people are realizing food is bothering them. Certain foods that were so great for them for so long are really still triggering symptoms.
So, okay, so let's take it back for a minute. So you're going to the integral and the functional doctors, and and then you guys start to realize that your body has a lot of toxins, or you're in a toxic environment. Like, so what exactly happens? What's the discovery there that we weren't finding prior?
Definitely. So the first thing they did was get me off all the drugs that I was on. And then after that, they realized that,
Which is huge, right? Because now you can get back to whatever's happening. It's not all being
yeah,
masked and
exactly. And plus, the steroids, were taxing my adrenals, which attacked my hormones. And I mean, figuring out my hormones and my adrenals and getting them back into shape from only 2 doses of steroids took me about 3 years. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was pure hell. And so through functional medicine, they found heavy metal accumulation. My mold and lead was off the charts. They found hypothyroidism, leaky gut, chronic candida that was so bad it was like to the levels of people with AIDS and cancer. They found Lyme disease, which was false negatives for about 15 years. They found polycystic ovarian syndrome. They found, let's see, what else? Fibromyalgia, and they found Epstein-Barr. Everything, there were probably some more things in there, but all of these things were missed by conventional medicine.
so
And
then, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
when I figured that out and I got those answers, I started crying and I was like, I'm not crazy. And that's when I came out with my story on my blog. Now, they didn't find all those things in the beginning. They found the leaky gut and the hypothyroidism and the heavy metals, but the mold and the Lyme and the PCOS, I mean, those weren't found until like 3 years ago.
And this
3 years.
guy, like,
Yes,
blowing my.
every doctor can miss. I mean, doctors can miss things, and I think that's why it's so important to work with doctors who can really, you can work with and you can manage them. Because when we trace back like, to when I was a young girl, when I was about, gosh, 7 years old, my blood work, my white blood cells were about 1.2, which means I should have probably been dead. Normal is like 4.0, and so someone only caught it when I was 22. My white blood cells were 1.3. And so I had gone, like almost 20 years, like 15 years like this. So meaning I got bit by a tick or something like that when I was younger, and it didn't manifest until I was 22. So you can imagine the damage that it did to my body.
Wow.
And so it just goes to show you have to be your own doctor, not to self-diagnose, but you have to be in control of your health. You cannot rely on the doctor signing off on things. I mean, I have a doctor sign off on things and they're not, accurate, and it's not right, and there's problems. And, doctors are not perfect. They're wonderful people and they're here to help us. But that's why it's so important to work with these functional integrated medicine doctors who take a deeper dive into it. But really, again, still, they're seeing tons of patients every day. You've got to be in control of your own health and take care of your, what you're doing. And I think that's what really people need to start to understand. And I think once people realize like what an impact you have on your own health, you realize that, you can change your life forever. And this is something that I didn't realize. I put all of my trust into doctors.
I think that's super common.
Like we're born We get sick, we're told you're sick, go to the doctor, he tells you what's wrong with you. And it's like, no, you should be able to figure out what's going on and listen to your body. But we're also stressed out and we're so busy that we don't have the time to sit with ourselves and to figure out what's going on. So I think that's what was really important for me, is trying to figure out what's going on and how do I fix it.
Yeah, and knowing, like you said in the book, there was a point when you were going through a bone marrow biopsy, and you were saying to yourself, Amie, you know your body best. You know this isn't right. Just hang in there, and we'll get through this. And I think there's, we have gut instincts, right? And we have internal messengers. And like you said, it's not to self-diagnose at all, but it's to just listen to that whisper, that gut instinct that you have, and just honor it, and just, explore it. Don't rule it out and think somebody else outside of you knows more or better, right? They may, when they may not, right? So don't discount your own experience.
Yes, I agree completely. And I think we're scared to do that. I was scared to death. I mean, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but you really do. I mean, these doctors would say different things, and I was like, no, that's not me. I mean, doctors are learning as they go because every patient is so different, So I think it's really important to really look at your symptoms, and you can't just Google your symptoms, because your symptoms could be 7 million different things, right? That's why it's like you have to really pay attention to your body and do what works for you. But that's why I really wrote this book, because I wanted to show people, like, I wanted to shortcut their journey. Your journey doesn't have to be as expensive or as time consuming as my journey. And, if you really put your mind to it, like, you can figure it out and create binders for yourself and put all your blood work in it and start to put the pieces together. And, the one thing I always say is I started to get better when I started to go to doctors that did not take my insurance. And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do, because I had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on my health, which was impossible to do. And I did it. And that's when I started to get better. And that's what's sad about our society, right? Like, the doctors that really have the time and want to sit with you are the ones that cost a lot of money and that really don't take insurance. And so that was really important for me, to figure out what doctors to work with and really to create a team of doctors, because one doctor is not going to heal you. I had to go for one doctor for Lyme, one for my gut, one for my thyroid, one for PCOS, and I had to have them all working together. And so that's what you really have to do. You have to spearhead this, because they're not going to do it on their own. They're busy with all their other clients.
So after you started going to the more functional doctors, so you started to then, that's when you started to kind of cleanse, detox, I guess would be the word, right?
Yeah.
And you talk about this a lot in the book. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, how do you determine, in the book you mentioned 13 like major players as the toxins.
Definitely. So it's everything from gluten to dairy to soy to sugar to caffeine, alcohol, white flour.
Not my coffee, Amie.
Well, it's just for 21 days,
Okay.
as long as you're drinking organic coffee, because coffee is so heavily sprayed with pesticides, people don't realize. But yeah, so that's the basis of it, and really learning how detox is not a cleanse. It's not about starving your body on a juice fast. That's not it at all. Detox, like a cleanse, is going on a juice fast, not eating food for a few days. A detox, on the other hand, is really learning how to get the bad stuff out of your body and put the good stuff in. So you're eating organic, you're getting 7 hours, 8 hours of sleep, you are doing Epsom salt baths, which I just got out of, which is why my hair is you are doing infrared saunas, you're doing, I didn't write about this in the book, but severe cases like Lyme, organic coffee enemas. Things that skin brushing, things that you have to do to help support your body to detox every day. Now, you'll read in every magazine and newspaper, our bodies are meant to detox. We don't need to detox. And they're right. Our bodies are meant to detox. Our liver is meant to detox. Everything in our body is set up to excrete these toxins. But it's 2016, and we are bombarded by plastics on our foods and car exhaust from outside. And, it's insane, the chemicals in our tap water and the pesticides and herbicides and growth hormones and antibiotics in our food. And bombarded all day long, right? So we have to figure out a way to help support our body's process to detox, because there hasn't been a day that we've been bombarded by this amount of toxins ever. And so that's why we're seeing so many more autoimmune diseases, behavioral issues, autism, all these things are rising up. And so there's something called MTHFR, which is how we methylate. It's methylation. And I wrote about this a lot in the book. And so I'm missing one of the MTHFR genes. Children with autism are missing two of them. And so when you're missing one, which is 30% of the population, which Western medicine does not test for, you have a handicap to detox. So you're not excreting the toxins that you are being bombarded by every day. So they're accumulating in your body over time, and your body is really becoming toxic. And that's when things like acne or arthritis or eczema.
Okay, that's what I was just going to ask you. So, like, what would somebody be looking for to, like, what would be signs to be like, maybe a detox is something you should seriously consider?
Yeah, I mean, it could be any of it. See, all our bodies are so different, so everything's
Right.
going to manifest as something different in all of us. But in my book, I put in there some symptoms. So it could be headaches, it could be dry skin, it could be dark circles under your eyes, it could be losing your hair, weight gain, weight loss, no appetite, starving, like hormone imbalances, infertility, losing your period. I mean, insomnia, or being insanely lethargic. There's so many different things, joint pain, muscle pain. I mean, you think about it, acne, these things are all, it's a form of toxicity. But we're taught in this society that you have something that hurts or something's going on, you put a Band-Aid on it. You've got a pimple, you put a cream on it. You've got a knee, your knee's bothering, you take an Advil. And it's like, these are Band-Aids. They should not be used on a daily basis, because all that stuff, all those chemicals that are in these things that you're taking have to filter through your liver. And your skin is your biggest organ, which I talk about in the book. So everything you put on your skin, from your makeup to your cleaning supplies that you touch, and your sunscreen and your chapstick and your toothpaste, all those chemicals are getting absorbed in your body. So this is why it's so important to really look at everything as a whole. It's not just your food.
Yes, the whole
And
environment.
Totally. And what I really wanted people to know from this book is that I'm not telling you to eat clean and live clean because you should, but because once you see life this way, you'll never go back. You'll never, ever go back. When you see how good you can feel eating clean and living clean, why would you ever want to go back to feeling crappy again, or getting rashes or eczema or acne or being bloated? Like, it's a way of life. And detox is not an overnight thing. It's not a quick fix. It's not a cleanse. It takes time. But if you follow the steps in the book and you start to look at your symptoms and you start to really address things, you'll notice changes and you'll start to feel a lot better.
Yeah, the book is it is very thorough, and I feel like it really covers, the whole spectrum, from food to environment to cleansers to, what's in your home. So, I do think it is a super thorough layout, and I feel like you made it very simple, which is good for people like me.
Thank you. It makes me so
Because it
happy.
can be totally overwhelming, even food
That's
detoxes.
that's what I was worried. I didn't want people to feel overwhelmed, so I was like, I tried to just keep it very, very basic. I mean, it's hard because a lot of people don't know any of this, and I didn't want people coming into it and like running around screaming. So I wanted people to feel like they could read it and be like, okay, I can start slowly. And it's taken me 5 years. I mean, I now have an organic mattress. I now have organic sheets. I now have organic towels. But like 5 years ago, I didn't. Start with the things that you use every day: your laundry detergent, your dish detergent,
That's a
right?
great tip.
Tap water. Work on these things, getting the chemicals out of the things that you are touching with your skin every single day. And then slowly start to add in new things. And then, focus on the dirty dozen and different things like that.
Oh, yes, right. So I think those are great tips, especially from the food perspective, because I think, like we're saying, like it can seem like a lot to people, especially a lot of people ask me often, especially when the spring rolls around, like about detoxing and cleansing, and me coming from more of a dieter's background, I tend to lean into food rules, and so I tend to say, just simply, if you just remove sugar, you're giving your body a baby detox. If you just remove dairy or caffeine or alcohol or any one of these major players, right, you're giving your body a baby detox. But what I liked, or what I think is interesting in the book, is so you do this 21-day cleanse. So you're taking these detox, so you take these food. Oh, look at your water.
I fill it up with a ton of lemons and I let them sit. This is probably like the last 3 days of lemons. And then after the third day, and I just keep filling it up with water all throughout the
Oh,
day
that is
with my
brilliant.
metal straw.
Yes, that's awesome.
And then I throw it out because then by after 3 days, the lemons are like,
That's awesome. Okay, I'm
yeah.
so doing that. Okay. So after the 21 days, so you're cleaning, you're detoxing, and then you slowly work foods back in to then see if how your body responds or reacts. So then you have a good understanding of whether or not it works for you or not. Is that the idea?
Exactly, but it's done very specifically. So the reintroduction period, which I outline completely in the book, you have to do it very, very slowly and start with very, very basic foods. And so you can't start eating almond milk because it's filled with like carrageenan and all these other ingredients. You have to add in just that single ingredient because it's your
So
body
interesting.
can react to anything, right?
Right. Yeah. So it is. So I think it's so interesting, and I think like we're saying, guys, it's you have to look at where you are and what you're feeling your needs are. But if like Amie said, and like I said, when you have that instinct that maybe your body needs a break, or we know, like you just know, like you just sometimes that thought pops in your head. It's probably popping in your head for a reason, right? And honoring it
It's
and
so
thinking, how
true.
can I do that? Like how, if you're thinking it, it's probably for some type of reason.
I agree completely. And it's funny. I didn't start to listen to my body until I got sick, and like 4 years into getting sick, because the first 4 years it was like, go to this doctor, go to this doctor, go to this doctor. What does he say? What does he say? What does he say? I never listened to myself, and now all I do is listen to myself. And
What a
even
beautiful
in,
thing.
I think my next book will be more about the mind, because I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm even like I'm just finishing my book tour and everything, and like people are like, let's get together, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want to see anyone or do anything for like the next 4 weeks. I just need to be alone, and like
Mm-hmm.
I need to recharge. I've become an introverted extrovert after going through everything I went through. I used to recharge by like being around a bunch of people, and I still love being around a bunch of people, but honestly, I need my alone time, and to heal fully, I need good night's sleep. I need to make my meals, and I need to meditate, and I need to read my books, and I need my life needs to be stress. I need no stress. I need no drama. Like I surround myself with like tons of loving people, all positive people. I let the negative people fall out of my life and learned how to let that go, which was a very, very hard thing to do. And so I think too we have to listen to ourselves. Like, it's I work with clients, they're like, it's Friday night, I should be out. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, I just want to be alone and sleep. I'm like, then sleep.
Right.
Like, you have to listen to your body. You can't do things. And I think now, this day and age, excuse me, with social media, it's like, they're doing this, look what they're doing. And it's like, stop looking what everyone else is doing. I never go through my social media feeds ever. I post and I'm off. I can't, because it sucks you in and you see what everybody else is doing and you're like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? I should be doing that. I should be working harder. And it's all that crap is not letting your body heal. It's constant jibber jabber in here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so this is something I'm learning just in the last year and a half after I handed my book in, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this will be in my next book, because I think that's a huge part of it.
Oh, I could not agree more. And I think there's that, you can't separate the mind and the body and the mind. They are completely interwoven. They feed each other constantly, and that can't be overlooked. And our thoughts can be just as toxic as the broccoli or the burger on our plate. You know,
Completely.
it's
Completely.
all
You could eat all the kale in the world and still be like miserable and sick. And that's the clients that come to me, and they can't think they're doing everything right, but
right.
they're still dealing with like a mind, like a monkey mind up
Right.
here.
Oh,
And
although I found, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I get excited
no,
about
no,
these things.
no,
Like,
go for it.
I will say, I've talked about this on my channel sometimes. Is how so I find like social media and things online that I've actually used that as like a great. I feel like I've created a world for myself that I love to exist within. Because if I read or follow something that doesn't uplift me, inspire me, empower me, etc., I just unfollow, and then I just make sure to follow people that think the way I want to be thinking, or that are bringing me up, or that are putting in positive vibes, that are, owning their truths. And I feel like I've created this bubble around myself that is like my real world. I love it. I
I love you.
absolutely love it.
I feel the same way. That's amazing. I had to learn how to stop following people because I was following so many, and I just had to unfollow them because it just wasn't working for me anymore.
Yeah, it's important. It is so important. Our environment and like what you're saying, our thoughts, our beliefs, it all it all ties together. And it's just good to know. And much like what you're saying about your sickness, for me, it was my struggle with my weight and negative body image. And that ended up being one of the greatest gifts in my life because it invited me to create a better relationship with myself. It invited me, it was like, what would you call it? It was it's where I got the desire to want to understand myself, to want to have a healthy relationship. You know, it was almost like I needed that. I was like, because I wanted to change my weight, it made me have to look internally. And I was like, oh, there's all this stuff I probably wouldn't have even paid attention to if I didn't want to wear a bikini.
Yes, it's so true. And a lot of it is like the mind, the things that you're telling yourself every day.
Yeah.
Getting out of those negative patterns.
So good. It reminds me of like when you think like really it's all happening for you. It all is happening for us.
Oh,
you know?
I think I put that in my book. I had to realize like everything that's happening to you, as hard as it is happening for you, not to you. If I had not gone through this, pure hell. I mean, I'm talking pure hell. Like, I'll be very honest with your readers. Like, I wanted to kill myself probably 100 times.
Wow.
I mean, you're living by yourself. You're in New York. You're in your 20s. You're missing all the weddings, the bachelorette parties, birthday parties. You lose all your friends because no one gets it because you don't understand what like candida or Lyme is or how you're bedridden. You know, if you don't have some kind of serious thing that they think is serious. But you just start to realize like I'd be sitting in a cubicle right now at Vogue magazine where I used to work, miserable. And here I am like in my apartment. I just took an Epsom salt bath. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this podcast. I'm going to meditate and I'm going to write an article. And this is what, and you start to build your life. And you realize the thing that I'm starting to realize is we are all hung up on being busy. How are you? Oh, I'm so busy. How are you? Oh my God, I'm so busy. And I'm like, why are we all so busy? Like, take control of your life and pull out the things that you don't need and self-time. Because if you're so busy, that means your body isn't resting, right?
Yeah, it's so true.
And it's so hard. Trust me, I am like type A, high energy, want to do a million and one things, but I had to learn how to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, it's so true. It's one of the a life coach I used to study with, she used to have people do like a time journal, and she would say, like if you were like, well, I don't have time I want to write this book, but I don't have time, or I'm trying to build this, but I don't have time, and she would say, okay, for 2 days, I want you to like literally write down all of what you're doing, like minute, days, hours, etc. And it was fascinating because you would then read back and you'd be like, oh, well, I watched TV for an hour and a half there, and I, talked on the phone for 45 minutes here, and I, whatever. And you start to see things that you're like, oh, I have time, right? It's just that I'm not using it, and so I feel busy because I'm filling my time with stuff that either I don't want to be doing or is just wasting time, and then it creates that state of mind like I'm so busy, there's so much to do, rather than saying, okay, what do I want to do, what are my priorities, where do I choose to put my energy and my attention, and then creating the discipline and the boundaries to come from that space and then follow through and honor that truth for yourself, which is, as we know, work in progress.
Totally. And none of us are perfect. And that's the thing with my book and with my work. I don't want anyone to think they have to do anything overnight. It takes time. And if you slip up, like, it's okay. Just start over the next day. But, be patient with yourself. I used to get so upset with myself when something went wrong or some pain would go back. But really, it's learning how to, like, love yourself throughout all of that, which is probably the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. Gentle, kind, compassionate. The way I think I have a 6-year-old daughter. I have a 6-year-old daughter. I don't think I have a 6-year-old daughter. And I often think to myself that how would you speak to her, Katie, her name is, how would you speak to Katie if she was presenting you with this problem or this thought or this idea? You wouldn't tell her, oh, we don't have time for this, or it's not important, or don't be silly, or you're making a big deal at all. You would listen to her, you would be compassionate, you would be understanding, and then you would guide her and, offer that to self, right? Offer that to self. And I do think for so many that I know for myself, that has been so much of the journey is learning to create that relationship with yourself first and foremost. And then that emulates out to the world. It's like, when you bring it here, then it naturally starts to go there. It's good stuff.
Completely. There was a quote that I use and that comes up in my calendar a lot. Like, you picture like a little girl crying and you hug her, and like, that's you, right? So you treat yourself like with compassion, like you would treat this little girl, like you're hugging her and you're giving her love. Like, we're all little girls.
Yeah,
right?
It's so true. Or boys.
And boys.
um,
We'll include boys.
yeah, we'll include the boys.
And
Yeah, no, but I think it's so great. And I think it's so important, to be sharing this story. And that's why I was, I've known you all these years, but for some reason, reading the intro in the book, really I was like, wow, I didn't really realize the depth of this journey and how you really took your health into your own hands and how you found these, functional and integral doctors and, how you changed it through food and environment. And it really, I think it's just so powerful, especially for anybody out there, any of you guys out there who might be having symptoms and feeling like you can't figure out what it is, or, whether it's weight gain or acne or whatever, joint aches, and you're just like, I'm trying this and I'm trying that and it doesn't make sense. It might be worth exploring, some type of detox. So
thank you. And I also, too, in the back of the book, I had 3 pages of, it's probably worth like $100,000 because of every doctor I've gone to, every functional and integrative medicine test that ever helped me.
Oh, wow.
Because there's false negatives with Lyme through Quest and LabCorp, so you want to go through 2 special labs in there. Everything from hormone testing to, you name it, gut testing, stool test. Everything is 3 full pages.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
And you
that's
have all the products and the vendors that you like. I'm seeing that too right now. So that's awesome. So I'm going to show the book one more time for anybody who might want to explore this, right? So it's Eating Clean, and it's, a very thorough walk you through 21-day plan to detox, fight inflammation, and reset your body. And I just think it's just really well done. So
Thank you.
I always, whenever I end these interviews, I always wish people were here live, because I feel like don't you feel like now we can hand the mic over and then everybody would ask some questions?
Totally.
We need a live studio audience in here.
No, well, I'm pretty good on my social media, like everything. I'm just at The Healthy Apple on everything. So,
so
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, all that.
Good.
Google
At The Healthy Apple. And that's also your website, thehealthyapple.com.
Yep.
So, and Amie puts up new recipes every Monday, right?
You're good.
Yeah, I know what you do, girl. Okay, so guys, I'm going to say goodbye. Amie, don't hang up. I'm saying goodbye to everybody, and then we'll chat. I always do a separate outro. So thanks for being here, Amie, and guys, I'll talk to you in a second.
Thanks for having me. I hope everyone learned something.
I'm sure they did. Thank you. So is that a story or what? It's really pretty unbelievable. I think it's amazing that Amie was able to kind of unravel all of that for herself. So I would love to hear from you guys. If you have any thoughts, if any of this resonates with you, any aha moments, I hope you got some type of insight from that conversation. Come on down to the comments below and let us chat. I love chatting with you guys. And if you guys want to ask anything directly to Amie, I will also leave some of her links down in the description box below so you guys can try to reach out to her should you need or want to do that, okay? So thanks so much for hanging in there with me. I will see you all back here soon with some more food for thought. Bye, guys.